Good evening, everyone. Please stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Monroe Township Zoning Board meeting of October 25th, 2022. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following. Posted on the bulletin board of the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin boards within the municipal complex, printed in the Home News Tribune, excuse me, on December 30th, 2021, posted on the Monroe Township website and sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Damiani?
Yes, here.
Mr. Lupo?
Here.
Mr. Masters?
Here.
Mr. Busman? Ms. Caratori? Mr. Tanzi?
Here.
Mr. Jaffe? Mr. Verdi? Mr. Cole?
Here.
Dr. Kenzie?
Here.
Chairman LaFada?
Here.
Also our professionals, Mr. Vignola? Mr. Razumowitz? Ms. Apte?
Here.
Mr. Stroin?
Here.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We good? Okay. In the absence of Mr. Busman, Mr. Cole, you'll be a full voting member this evening. In the absence of Ms. Katori, Mr. Kinsey, you will also be a full voting member this evening. I'm going to turn it over to council to start us off for a minute, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the members of the public that are here this evening, to give you an idea of how the procedures go at the meeting. The application this evening for Concordia MZL LLC will be heard. The applicant will put in, this is delightful. Better? Better. All right. So the applicant will put in all their professionals, and during that period, the board will be permitted to ask questions of the professionals. The public portion of the presentation happens at the end of the applicant's presentation after they've presented all of their witnesses. At that time, members of the public will be permitted to come to the podium, ask questions of the applicant through the board, or make comments on the application. The board does have the ability to restrict time of the public if the comments start to get repetitive and non-productive. That being said, the public's usually given a full opportunity to speak. The board does hear applications until 10:30 p.m. At that time, the board does need to stop hearing applications and proceed with the rest of its agenda. So just that's kind of a idea of how tonight will go.
Thank you, council. Okay, board members, we need to approve or disapprove the minutes of our regular meeting of August 30th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Second, roll call, please.
Ms. Damiani?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Kenzie?
Yes.
Chairman LaFada?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we're going to turn it back over to council for a second, please.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Just, Mr. Chairman, there are two applications on this evening. The first is BA 5216-22 Concordia MZL LLC. That application will be heard this evening by the board. The second application, BA 5218-22 283 Applegarth Realty. We did receive a letter from the applicant's counsel, Mr. Toto, indicating that he represents 283 Applegarth Realty. The matter is scheduled for a hearing this evening. He's requesting that the board carry the matter without further legal notice to the next meeting of November 29th, 2022. That's the first time this has been heard or placed on the agenda, so that adjournment request would be appropriate, as would the request for the notices to be carried.
Thank you, council. All board members in favor of carrying 283 Applegarth Realty, application BA 5218-22, please say aye.
Aye.
There you have it. They carried with no further notice. Next application for this evening is application BA 5216-22, Concordia MZL LLC, COKRP Centers LLC.
Sorry, Mr. Engineer. My name is Michael Herbert. I'm with the law firm of Parker McKay. I am here representing tonight Concordia MZL LLC, CO KPR Centers LLC. We are requesting a use variance with preliminary and final subdivision, along with preliminary and final site plan approval with bulk variances at the shopping center at 1600 Prinville Road, block 27.02, lot 27.01 in the PRC zone. We are looking to build a drive-through fast food restaurant, which is 4,439 square feet. I would ask at this time if the board attorney could find jurisdiction for the board in this matter.
The board does have jurisdiction to hear this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Counsel, before we proceed, we would like a copy of the transcript. I want that
Absolutely.
noted on the record, please.
And I was going to point out tonight that the most important person in the room is this young lady to my left, your right, is our court stenographer. I would ask that if everyone could speak as clearly and slowly as possible so she can take down their words, it would be greatly appreciated. We will, of course, supply the board attorney with a copy of the transcript from tonight's proceeding.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, tonight we have several witnesses. I just wanted to point them out. I don't know if we want to swear all the witnesses at once or go witness by witness. That
We're
is
going to do witness by
okay.
witness.
That is fine with me. I have with us tonight Mr. Stan Glantz. He is here with the owner-operator. He is going to just confirm my opening remarks with regard to the site plan and subdivision that we're applying for. I also have with us our engineer, Mr. Matt Landro. He is with Bowler Engineering. He is the site engineer for this project. After Mr. Landro, we have Mr. Bill Dykeman, who is with McDonald's, along with Yasmin Sayer, who is also with McDonald's. They are here to talk about the activities of the McDonald's restaurant, should it be approved, how it would function at the site. We then have Patrick Jones, our architect. He is going to review with the board our architectural drafts. After him, we have our traffic engineer, Paul Going. Paul will be able to testify as to how traffic will interact with the site and how the site will function with regard to the drive-through. Finally, our closer tonight is our planner, Justin Osceola, with Cafone Consulting, and he will testify as to the standards for the variances. And just so everyone knows, Mr. Landro, our engineer, will be identifying the variances, and Mr. Osceola will testify as to why we believe those variances should be approved. Again, this is we're applying for a McDonald's on a open pad site at the existing Concordia Shopping Center. This restaurant will have 67 seats. We will not have outdoor seating. There is parking out there for approximately 28 vehicles with a shared parking of approximately 106 vehicles. There is also a 5-lot subdivision that we are applying for. It is an existing 14.4 acre development that contains a supermarket, banks, gas stations, restaurants, office and retail building. And there's parking for approximately over 600 vehicles at the site. The subdivision, we're looking to separate it, as I said, into 5 lots. The first lot A will be the McDonald's. Lot B is and the McDonald's is 0.79 acres. Lot B will be an 8.84 acre Wells Fargo Bank lot. Lot C is this 0.62 acre Liberty Bank site. Lot D is the 93 acre medical office area. And the remaining lot will contain the other existing buildings. We are not proposing at this time the ATM that you may see as part of this application. The ATM has been taken out of this application in order to accommodate the professionals' comments on the site. We, again, will be presenting details on site operation, addressing various things like the buffers, EV charging station, pedestrian circulation, the queue for the drive-through, signage, impervious surface, employees, and ADA parking. With that, we have the representative of the shopping center. I don't know if any board members have any questions of the operator before we begin with what the application is all about. He is with us tonight, Mr. Glantz.
Council, we're going to proceed with your testimony. If we wish to call upon the owner of the property, we will do so at such time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with that, I would then turn to our site engineer. And I'm going to go ahead and just speak without the mic. If anyone cannot hear me.
You can grab that mic if you two are just going to have a
great,
direct
great.
dialogue.
That would be
Would you
great.
like me to use the microphone
You're
for
going
the
to use
record?
one and he's going to use one.
Great.
Perfect.
Testing. All right.
If
Okay.
you could raise your right
All
hand.
right. So with
Council,
Counsel, 1 sec. Let me swear him in.
Okay.
Thanks. You could raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
My name is Matthew Landro, Landro. Address is 10,000 Mid-Atlantic Drive, Suite 410W, Mount Laurel, New Jersey, 08054.
and Mr. Landro, by whom are you employed?
Bowler Engineering?
And Mr. Landro, could you tell us your educational background?
Yes, I went to Penn State University and obtained a degree with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I am currently a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have been employed by Bowler Engineering for approximately 8.5 years, and I have supervised the preparation of this plan set from an engineering perspective.
Council, we will accept his credentials as a professional.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Landro, I know you have prepared this application. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And if you could, if we could begin with existing conditions at the site, and we can proceed.
Sure.
Thank you.
Before I get into it, I do have a couple of materials, if you'd like me to distribute them. Reduced size copies of the exhibits, if that would be helpful for the board's
That's okay with you?
review.
And
like me to-
counsel or Mr. Chairman, for the exhibits, I guess we'll start with A1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll mark them.
Is that exhibit going to be on the board that the public can see?
Yeah, I'm gonna mark that.
That's fine. Make sure public can see it since we're getting a copy of it.
Absolutely.
And if we
Those
could
might be difficult for some to see in the corners, but is this appropriate?
If the public can see it, that's fine.
Can everyone see?
I'll do my best to move around.
There's a million.
I don't know if that is possible, unfortunately, with this easel.
Yeah.
Unless I put
You
up
can
that-
hold that.
that's the original, which. Mark that.
You don't want to keep that.
Shall I put this on the desk here? I don't want to intrude.
I'm always happy to have something blocked.
Me too.
Thank you.
How's this? All right.
Oh, sorry. I want to put my folder down.
All right, before I begin, let me just mark this as Exhibit A1. This is entitled Aerial Exhibits, prepared by Bowler Engineering, with a date of October 25th, 2022. Hello. Okay. Thank you.
He's good, he's good.
This looks a little bit more sensitive.
That is, oh my goodness, that is much more, much more sensitive. All right, much better. All right, marked as Exhibit A1, Aerial Exhibit, October 25th, 2022. This is an aerial image which was taken from approximately early October, which you can see the site in question outlined in a yellow boundary on this plan. The site is located at the corner of Perrinville Road, which is a County Route 625, and also Prospect Plains Road, which is County Route 614. Surrounding the site, you have residential, multifamily, and townhouse development to the west and to the south. On the opposite side of Prospect Plains Road, you also have additional residential housing. Catty corner to the subject site, you have the USPS Postal Service building, and to the east of the site on the opposite side of Perrinville Road, you have an open farm field. As Mr. Herbert mentioned, we are located at block 27.02, lot 27.01, which is taken from tax map page number 10. And the site is located in the PRC zone, which is known as the Planned Retirement Community Zoning District. The existing use on the site is made of many uses, as many of you may know. The primary use on the site is the existing Stop and Shop restaurant, grocery store, which happens to be the primary use on the site, and the surrounding uses consist of some smaller retail uses such as a pizza shop, the Mrs. Kumar's Indian cuisine, some medical office buildings, a couple of bank parcels. It really functions as a shopping center, which is what the previous approval considered in 1983 for this project. It was classified as a shopping center based on the types of uses and the shared amenities that are provided on this site. You can see, well, maybe you can't see in detail, but the number of parking spaces on the site we're going to be talking about a lot tonight. And currently there are approximately 646 parking stalls. That is based on the survey that we have prepared as part of this application. However, the previous approved number based on that original approval for the shopping center was 602. Most of those parking stalls are utilized by the large use on the site, which is the Stop and Shop grocery store. And you can see from this aerial image, and hopefully the board members can see as well, most of the cars that are located on this site or parked on this site are located in the front of the grocery store. So one of the things we're going to try to achieve with this application is to provide a little bit more parking in front of the Stop and Shop where it's most needed on this project. You can also see on this plan with the red boundaries what the proposed subdivision for this project will look like. As Mr. Herbert mentioned, we are applying for a major subdivision application, which will add additional parcels within the existing shopping center. Those are outlined in red here, and I'll get into that once we turn into the proposed conditions shortly. Access to the site is yeah, I want to describe it for the record as well. I'd like to do that when we get to the proposed condition. You can see that a little bit better.
This is what I'm going to recommend. After he gives his testimony and testimony's done, we'll take a recess. At that point, we'll give the public a chance to see the outlines up close instead of interrupting as we go along. Otherwise, we're going to be here for many nights. So let's go through the process. Everyone will get a chance to view it and see what's going on before anything happens. I promise you. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lastly, on the existing conditions, I want to talk about access to the site, which there are a handful of driveways. There are 2 full movement access driveways located on Prospect Plains Road, and also 2 full movement driveways into the shopping center piece of this project along Perrinville Road. There are a couple of additional access points to the existing BP gas station located at the southeast corner, which are not to be changed. And for that matter, none of the proposed access points on the site will be changed as part of this application. With that, I'll move on to the proposed conditions unless the board has any questions on the existing.
When you're done, we'll get to those. We'll get to the questions.
Yes. This exhibit I will mark as A2. And the exhibit is overall site layout plan, sheet C-301, and the date is June 25th, 2021, last revised July 12th, 2022. And what this exhibit is a colorized rendering of the submitted site plan drawings that we provided to the board as part of this application. Colorized for visibility and to see what the site may look like once it's constructed, as well as to provide a superimposed landscaping from the landscaping plan that was submitted as well, all for reference on one page. As Mr. Herbert mentioned, we are proposing to construct a 4,439 square foot fast food McDonald's restaurant, which will contain 67 seats and provide a double lane, what McDonald's called side-by-side drive-through configuration, which is their most efficient configuration. You see it very frequently across the nation and really across the world. Excuse me. Turn the page here. The proposed restaurant is going to be located towards the northeast corner of the site. And by the way, north is directed to the right side of this page, so a 90-degree rotation from the previous exhibit. The McDonald's restaurant will be located at the northeast corner, closest to Prospect Plains Road and Perrinville Road intersection, adjacent to the existing Wells Fargo Bank. The reason we've selected that location, there's a couple of reasons, but most importantly, it's the location on the site currently that utilizes the least amount of parking stalls or has the least amount of parking demand. And looking at the aerial exhibit, you'll see that that area of the site is very infrequently used for parking, therefore making it a prime location for this restaurant. Additionally, on the other side of the entrance driveway on Perrinville Road, further to the south of where this proposed restaurant will be located, we are proposing some site plan modifications to increase total number of parking spaces in front of the existing Stop and Shop grocery store. I know it might be difficult for the public to see it. I'm sure you'll see it when we take a recess, as the chairman mentioned. This design, from an engineering standpoint, is much better for a circulation perspective and also provides an additional 20 parking spaces in front of the Stop and Shop restaurant, just simply by reconfiguring the parking lot. We are not proposing a drive-through ATM, which was initially contemplated for this application. We have rescinded that from the application, and in lieu of the ATM, we will be providing an additional 4 parking stalls, which were not shown on the plan as it was submitted. Just to reiterate, we are proposing a fast food drive-through restaurant, which is a non-permitted use within this zone. While it is a restaurant similar to the pizza shop and the Indian cuisine restaurant, the drive-through component and the fast food nature of this restaurant is not explicitly permitted in this zone. Therefore, we are requesting the use variance for this project. The ATM also would have required a use variance application, but that is no longer necessary given the fact that we have eliminated that from the plans. So I want to cover a couple of additional site plan improvements that were specific questions and comments raised by the board's professionals, which we are agreeing to incorporate. This will hopefully streamline the review through the comment letters as we proceed. One of those was interconnectivity between the proposed restaurant and the existing shopping center. Previously, and on this plan, there are no sidewalks or crosswalks delineated for public access if you were to walk from the Stop and Shop to the restaurant. So we will be providing those. We will be agreeing to work with the board's professionals to find a suitable location for those, and that will be provided as a condition of any approval that we might receive. Additionally, as shown on this plan, we are showing an outdoor seating area as part of the McDonald's restaurant. That also is going to be eliminated. That is not needed based on what McDonald's has indicated to us. So we will be eliminating that larger outdoor patio space in lieu of some additional landscaping that will be provided instead. So the other lots that were proposed to be created as part of the subdivision plan. I'll identify them now. The existing lot 27.01 will be broken into 5 individual parcels, which we are calling lots A, B, C, and D for the first 4 new lots that are going to be out parcels on the northern side of this property. The remaining land that will not be included in lots A, B, C, and D will remain as part of lot 27.01 or whichever tax number the tax assessor assigns, and that will remain inclusive of the Stop and Shop and many of the retail uses on the southern half of the site. The McDonald's restaurant will be located on lot A. Wells Fargo Bank and the surrounding parking and drive-through area will be located on lot B. Lot C will include the existing Liberty Bank and its surrounding drive-through and parking area. And lot D will be the existing medical office building on the northwest corner of the site, also with adjacent parking and circulation areas.
Mike, use the microphone. Council, microphone, please.
I can reiterate your question.
Go ahead.
His question was, this would be considered an economic or financial subdivision, as we call it in the industry, and the answer is yes. The reason for it is not to separate the ownership or really have it be feeling as a separate use on the property. It will still function as a shopping center. You will not notice any sort of difference just because of the subdivision. It's more for business and taxable purposes as a financial opportunity rather than to change the use or the feel of the site.
Thank you.
So as I proceed, there are a number of variances that we need relief from this board this evening. Rather than go back and forth with interjecting them throughout the presentation, I do have a comprehensive list of all of the variances and the design exceptions that we will be requesting, which I can go through at the end of this, and we do have that list available to present to you, should that be beneficial.
Mr. Landro, 1 second, please.
Sure.
Council, the handouts that were given out tonight, was that submitted to the township prior in your portfolio in the package?
The black and white. We have black. Can you hear me now? Okay. I thought I had a loud voice. I apologize. We have these are the plans that were submitted. These were just upgraded with colorized so you're able to see them a little bit better.
Okay, so the original plan that doesn't indicate revision 3, and this indicates revision 3, it's the same as 2, but just colored?
That's correct, yes. With the landscaping superimposed on top of the site plan, yes.
Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, I'm gonna move into parking. So I mentioned 646 stalls exist currently on the site for parking as a comprehensive total. The total number for all of these uses, inclusive of the individual parcels that we're proposing, will be reduced to 561. That's, again, total for the overall lot. Individually, I'll break it down per lot. Lot 27.01, which is the remaining area that will not be subdivided, currently requires 471 parking spaces based on a floor area of 117,804 square feet. We are proposing 432 parking spaces in lot 27.01, which is, as I mentioned before, is an increase of 20 spaces compared to what it would have been if we were not proposing the parking improvements along Perrinville Road. Those provide an additional 20 stalls, which we feel is appropriate and necessary for the location on the site where they're most used. For Lot A, which is the proposed McDonald's restaurant, 39 total spaces are required, and that is based on a maximum number of employees on any given shift of 11 and 67 indoor seats. Again, we are not proposing any outdoor seating, which was one of the questions from the professionals. Those outdoor seats will not be present and therefore not included in the required parking calculation. For Lot B, which is the existing Wells Fargo Bank, 20 spaces are required based on the floor area of 3,858 square feet, and 23 parking spaces are proposed. For Lot C, the Liberty Bank, 14 parking spaces are required, which is based on the square footage of 2,610 square feet, and 18 parking spaces are proposed.
Mr. Lander, I just wanted to stop you for a second.
Sure.
The Liberty is now Northfield? Northfield. So,
Northfield.
and also, just to clarify for the record, Stop and Shop is the grocery shop, is a grocery store, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Supermarket, thank you.
Yes. Lot D, which is the medical office building, 59 total spaces are required, and that is assuming a max number of employees of 29 and a maximum number of treatment rooms of 15. Currently, there are several vacant uses within that building, which therefore we are not able to provide a refined calculation. However, we are committing to providing those as maximums. Again, 29 employees and 15 treatment rooms, which equates to 59 parking spaces required, and that is what is proposed, 59 parking spaces. Additional information and testimony by our traffic engineer will be provided regarding the adequacy and with their findings as to the parking distribution on the site. But those are the metrics for the individual lots. And as I go through the variance list at the end, we will be seeking a parking variance for the remaining lot 27.01 and lot A for the proposed McDonald's. I mentioned access during the existing condition. Again, we are proposing to maintain the existing access points into the site. However, there are a couple of modifications we're proposing to make internal to the site that we believe are improvements compared to the existing condition. The first of which is providing a four-way stop controlled intersection to the northeast of the existing grocery store supermarket. Previously or currently, that is only a three-way intersection, which we are proposing to expand as a four-way circulation with additional striping, stop bars, etc., to allow for a little bit of a safer operation in that area. Additionally, if you can visualize pulling into the site going southbound on Perrinville Road, currently there's a right turn in and then an immediate right that allows you to get into the parking area that currently exists where the McDonald's restaurant will go. There's no traffic restriction on that current movement. That is a full movement, therefore in and out capability. We're proposing to restrict that to a right-in movement only, which would require people leaving the site to go around and exit either onto Prospect Plains Road or use the four-way stop controlled intersection that I mentioned in order to leave the site, which is a substantial improvement in our estimation from a traffic flow and safety perspective. I should mention that was also something we worked with the professionals on to coordinate and provide us a design that we believe is acceptable to them as well. Also within the McDonald's restaurant and its surrounding pad area, we are proposing a one-way circulation, which is fairly typical for a McDonald's use, given the fact that the dual lane drive aisles require people to move in the same direction, and it allows for the efficient circulation in and out of those areas. As part of the angled parking stalls, we are proposing 9-foot by 18-foot sized dimensions, which is slightly less than what the ordinance requires at 10 feet by 20 feet. The reasoning for that, one is due to the size of the lot and the constraints that we're working with, given the existing driveway to the south and the existing driveway to the north. We want to actually provide some separation with the landscape areas and some of the concrete islands to separate the drive-through circulation from the surrounding drive aisles. Additionally, if we were to expand the dimension of those parking spaces, we would therefore have to lose some additional dimension in the drive aisles themselves, which we would prefer to keep additional width in the drive aisles so cars have the ability to maneuver a little bit more freely. 9-foot by 18-foot parking stalls are very common in the industry. They are more than acceptable for a type of use such as this, and therefore we are requesting that relief for those parking stall dimensions. One of the other design criteria that we are asking for relief on is for providing landscape islands within parking areas that exceed 20 parking stalls. As you could see from the existing condition, there are landscape islands at the ends of many of the parking stalls, but not in between. And the primary reason we are not proposing those at this time is because of the additional parking that we would like to provide in lieu of those spaces. Otherwise, additional spaces would be lost. Our variance request would be even higher, and frankly, the site needs additional parking spaces in that area in front of the grocery store, just based on the demand that it receives on a typical basis. Similarly, in that area, we are proposing a 24-foot wide access drive aisle, which would be the drive aisle closest to Perrinville Road that we are proposing to modify. The ordinance requirement minimum is 25 feet. We are proposing 24 in that area. One, to again allow for some landscape separation along the street, but two, to provide additional landscape island width internal to the site to put in some landscaping and some trees where otherwise it may be a little bit skinnier and less visible from a landscaping standpoint. So we are requesting the relief for 24-foot wide drive aisles being proposed. Lastly, on parking, I want to mention that there are quite a few parking stalls proposed within the front yard setback on this project. It's an existing condition that we're proposing to maintain, but we are requesting that relief because they are new parking stalls in this instance. So we are matching the existing curb line along that roadway, but they are new stalls, so we are requesting the relief for putting them within the front yard. Next, I'll move on to signage, and there'll be a little bit more testimony later on from our architect about the signage and the building design, but I do want to mention a couple of items that we are requesting relief from, the first of which being the number of wall signs. The proposed building will have 5 wall signs, which is typical for a McDonald's use. There will be 2 on the northern facade, 2 on the eastern facade, which is facing Perrinville Road, and then 1 on the southern facade. Only 1 sign is permitted per use. In this instance, we feel that the additional signage is necessary from a visibility standpoint, so you can identify the store as you're driving up, especially close to a signalized intersection, and have enough time to plan for a maneuver, whether it's the driveway immediately in front of the McDonald's restaurant or further to the south. In addition to the number of signs, there are also a couple of size variances that we're requesting for individual sign areas on each facade. On the northern facade, where there are 2 signs proposed, one of the golden arch sign, the classic McDonald's symbol, is 14 square feet, and the McDonald's word mark lettering for McDonald's is approximately 41.4 square feet. Therefore, the total is about 55.4 square feet, which exceeds the maximum allowable sign area of 40 square feet, slightly over what is required. And that 55.4 square feet represents approximately 3% of that northern facade, which we believe is very reasonable for this type of use and the size of the building facade, quite typical for this type of use, and is a prototypical McDonald's standard. Additionally, for the eastern facade, which is facing Perrinville Road, same 2 signs, one golden arch McDonald's logo and 1 word mark, totaling 55.4 square feet, which is approximately 6.4% of that eastern facade, again exceeding the 40% maximum sign area, but what we feel is appropriate for this use. And then on the southern facade, there is only 1 sign proposed, which is the McDonald's word mark at 41.4 square feet. That represents about 2.2% of that facade. Again, for visibility coming northbound on Perrinville Road, we want some identification on that facade. So we are requesting that relief for exceeding 40 square feet. It's worth pointing out that we are not proposing a freestanding sign as part of this project, so there will be no, large monument or pylon sign along the street. Therefore, furthering our request for the wall signage because there is none of that higher eye level sign visibility. One of the questions in the professional's letters was about signs extending above. I apologize, I can't see you, Mika, but one of the questions was about the signs extending above the maximum building height, which they will not. So that is confirmed. It will be within the proposed height of the building facade. Couple of pieces of information about the operation of the site, how it'll function. I'm going to keep it very high level because we do have a member of the McDonald's operations team here to provide more detail. But just to cover some basics, 2 deliveries will occur per week utilizing a tractor trailer WB50 unit. I do have an exhibit that I can present if the board and the public would like to see it, showing the movement of that, but the site is designed to accommodate a WB50 vehicle, and those deliveries will occur twice per week. Additionally, for loading maneuvers, we are requesting relief for not providing a dedicated loading zone. And the primary reason for that is the McDonald's loading operation occurs off of business hours. So the truck will come in and utilize the existing drive aisle to do their loading operation and then leave the site prior to any employees or other, I shouldn't say employees because there will be 1 or 2 employees to do the loading maneuver, but the public and the store will not be open during that loading time. So therefore we are requesting relief for not providing a loading zone. For trash collection, that will be collected approximately 3 times per week, and recycling will be collected roughly 2 times per week. Those are just general ballpark numbers. Of course, should trash or recycling build up a little bit faster than usual, it can be scheduled on a more frequent basis. Hours of operation for this store are anticipated to be 5:30 a.m. to midnight. And that is to allow for the accommodation of breakfast traffic, commuters, etc.
Everybody will have a chance when they come up. Please let him finish.
Thank you, Chairman. 5:30 a.m. to midnight, just to accommodate the breakfast traffic, the early risers. That is also typical for McDonald's use. A couple of other items just about the site design. For drainage and utilities, the drainage conditions on the site are already in place. We already have infrastructure that we can utilize for connection. So we are providing a few storm sewer inlets and pipes to connect these new features into it. But on an overall basis, we are reducing impervious coverage. We are reducing the total net flow going into the storm sewer system. Therefore, the existing system is adequate to service this use. Additionally, on utilities, the needed utilities for this project, which are electric, telecommunication like cable and telephone, water, and sanitary sewer, all of those services are available within the pad site and within the shopping center as it exists currently. So there are a couple of short runs to connect utilities for this building that are available internal to the site. No off-site improvements are expected for this project. We are working with Mr. Stroin and the utility department to work through water and sewer connection permits and approvals as well. That, of course, will be a condition of any approval we should receive. On the topic of landscaping, you can see some of it on the exhibit. We are proposing what we believe is a fairly significant increase to the amount of landscaping that's on the site currently. Where the McDonald's restaurant is located, is mostly just asphalt parking and striping, really no landscaping to speak of. Clearly, there's an improvement from a landscaping perspective where any available green space will be landscaped with either grasses or shrubbery internal to the McDonald's pad. And that will carry through into the additional landscape islands we're proposing on
And
the
Mr.
south side of the site where the parking lot improvements are proposed.
Mr. Lando, just to emphasize, there be more landscaping out there with this application than is out there now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it's really, in many ways, it's an upgrade to what, it's just flat asphalt out there.
That's correct. One of the comments on landscaping from the professionals was about the elimination of one shrub, which is slightly encroaching into available site distance. We are agreeing to remove that just to provide that clear site distance in the vicinity of the trash enclosure. That is no issue. From a lighting perspective, there are some significant lighting improvements that we're proposing as part of this application. I'll start on the southern side in the Stop and Shop parking area where the new landscape islands are proposed. There are quite a few existing lights out there that we're proposing to relocate just by function of the new islands not matching where the existing lights are. So those existing light poles will be relocated and placed within the new landscape islands to provide lighting within that parking area on the southern side of the site.
And Mr. Landro, no lighting will escape that site or will affect any of the residential houses in the area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, just to emphasize, there are no residences across the street from the restaurant, nor on either side. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
For the proposed McDonald's restaurant, there are a number of lights proposed. In total, there are 9 LED area lights that are proposed at a height of 20 feet. Those are newer generation, high efficiency lighting that new development is very common with. And those will be provided around the perimeter and as well as on the building for the McDonald's restaurant. One of the comments we received was about the light height and the mounting height of those. The existing light poles throughout the site are anywhere between 19 and 20 feet approximately. We're proposing to maintain that just for consistency across the entire shopping center, but that does exceed the building height of 18.8 feet for the McDonald's restaurant. Therefore, by code, we would need relief from that requirement just to keep everything consistent within the shopping center. We also received the comment to reduce the lighting color temperature to 3,000 Kelvin versus what was previously proposed as 4,000 and 5,000. We agreed to make that change. We will reduce the lighting color temperature to 3,000 Kelvin. There are a couple of other technical deficiencies on the lighting regarding foot candles at property lines and allowable minimum averages. We are requesting relief from that, mostly due to the configuration of the lot lines that we're proposing. So more specifically, there is a maximum allowable lighting value of 0.5 foot candles at property lines. We're proposing 4.0 foot candles and 2.4 foot candles for lots 27.01 and lot A, which is the McDonald's lot, and those are respective. Again, we feel that that's appropriate given that there are access driveways along the property lines and that we want to illuminate them to an adequate level just for the safety of the patrons visiting the site. Lastly, I just want to mention that we did meet with the board's professionals and some of the members of the township at a technical review committee meeting on July 8th, 2022. We discussed the project, heard their thoughts and feedback, and workshopped this plan with them. Of course, we'll go through any of the questions or comments that are still remaining in the letters from either Mr. Razumowicz or Ms. Apty. But we believe we're at a point now where the plan is more than sufficient to satisfy their concerns. And of course, we'll work with them on any remaining comments to bring it to an acceptable condition.
And Mr. Landro, with the exception of what was placed in the record, we are agreeing with everything that's in their letters of from Mr. Razumowicz of October 13, 2022, and from Zapti dated July 7, 2022. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. So that concludes the overall kind of summary of what we're proposing here. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have. Of course, there's quite a lot to digest with this one, and I can also run through the full list of variances, but of course I'd want to get any direct feedback on the layout or the design of the site itself before we go through those technical procedures.
Thank you, Mr. Landro. Mr. Lupo?
Mr. Herbert elaborated that there was no residences around the area, which we all are aware of. But there is 3,000 kids right down the road in a high school. You can't hear me. I said that Mr. Herbert elaborated that there was no homes around the area as far as pedestrians and regarding the light problem. But there is 3,000 kids right down the road in a high school. And I'm sure you individuals are aware of it, that you're going to get a lot of foot traffic with kids. That intersection is a nightmare. Now you're going to bring these kids over there. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And that's just my opinion. Okay? Forget the residents. You know there's no residents there, but there is kids, and the kids are going to come. What I'm trying to mean as far as the lights are concerned.
If we all lose our order, we're not gonna get anything accomplished.
So I
Let the
wanted that
board
to be on
members,
note.
Mr. Lupo, hold on, let the board members ask the questions, take your notes. When the public portion is available, you'll be able to voice your opinion. If we keep interrupting, you're all gonna waste your time here tonight, because we're gonna be back next month and the month after. Let's do it orderly, and let's get it done correctly. Mr. Lupo, please continue.
Thank you. That's just one of many. I'll let you continue, and I'm interested to hear your other professionals.
So I'll address your concern. I believe the intent of what Mr. Herbert said before is to the east of the site, which would be on the opposite side of Perrinville Road, there is no residential, and also to the northeast across the intersection, there also is none. Of course, there is residential housing to the south, which is planned left on this page, and to the west, which is the top of this page. Of course, there is residential housing, quite a bit of it. However, there are other buildings and existing uses, such as the Stop Shop grocery store, the pizza shop, the retail buildings, that will separate the proposed McDonald's from those residential houses. So you will not see any sort of lighting or spillover from the proposed McDonald's in those areas. It will just be limited to the shopping center itself.
And Mr. Lander, if you could just address the issue with regard to pedestrian circulation coming from the schools.
Hold it.
Mr. Landro, again, if you could just address the issue that was raised by the board member with regard to the school kids in the middle school and the high school that are up the road there on 625.
Sure.
And the pedestrian access for the site.
Yeah. So the school is located to the north, far to the right off of this page, and there is substantial striping and signage and pedestrian access improvements at the intersection, which is under county jurisdiction. We are not proposing to modify that at all. That would be under their purview. Additionally, there is existing sidewalk that the county put in on their own accord along the frontage for approximately 75% of the site frontage. As part of our county approval that we're currently working on finalizing, we are extending the sidewalk across the southernmost driveway adjacent to the Mrs. Kumar's Indian Cuisine, which will provide a direct line of connection into the shopping center. So in terms of access, we will be providing that and in supplement of the existing infrastructure that's there now.
And Mr. Landro, the schools that are to the north of the shopping center, the shopping center has been in existence for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so those school children, if they wanted to, they've always been able to walk to that shopping center. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Herbert, it's not a McDonald's though. Kids can identify McDonald's from maybe salads. Big
It's a
difference.
bank.
Big difference.
It's a bank.
Yeah, it's a bank.
All right. Mr. Landro, anything else?
That concludes the direct testimony.
Mr. Chairman, the witness is available for questions.
Sure, he could remain up there. Mr. Cole?
Yes, I have, going along with what Mr. Lupo said, could you go over in detail the anticipated traffic flow that you're showing? Because I can't, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me on this small drawing.
Mr. Cole, I think we should wait for that till the traffic professional comes up.
Okay,
I'm sure he's gonna give us numbers and traffic flow, how he calculated and how they described it. So
fair enough.
hold that question. It's a good question, but hold on to it.
Okay.
Any other questions from you, Mr. Cole?
Trucks, are there going to be any overnight?
Yes. Yes, I believe my direct testimony was two to three truck deliveries
I meant,
per
are they
week.
going to remain there?
Oh, no. The operation, I shouldn't speculate. Our operations manager from McDonald's will provide that information for you.
Good. Ms. Damiani?
I have a question with pedestrian on that traffic on the sidewalk on Prineville Road, turning into that first driveway where McDonald's would be.
Mhm.
Is there going to be a sidewalk there or something? Because right now it's just roadway, and it's very dangerous right now when cars are pulling in and out over there. So how would, say, the students come from the traffic light and get into McDonald's safely?
So the current condition out there, there's actually a retaining wall that runs along the backside of that sidewalk, which the county put in. You can't see it from this plan, but there's about a three foot or so grade differential from that sidewalk you see here down to where the McDonald's is located in that parking area. So we would not encourage anyone to be traversing that steep grade change at that intersection. In addition to the traffic concerns you mentioned, it is fairly busy at times. So the connection into the site, again, will be provided on the southern side of the site adjacent to, I guess, closer to the Stop and Shop restaurant rather than immediately in front of the McDonald's restaurant. That said, we can work with the professionals to come up with a design that may provide some level of connectivity. It may not be directly in front of McDonald's because of that grade difference and the retaining wall that I mentioned, but there may be other ways of providing a more direct path. That's the board's concern, which we
Because
certainly can look at.
The students will find a more direct path to get there, and I don't see a sidewalk from
Chair.
Prineville Road to the site. So that's my concern, one concern. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Damiani?
No, that's it.
1 second. Mr. Donato? Okay, yes? Use the
Getting
mic.
back to the parking, okay? Can you just go over what's gonna change as far as the quantities there now to where we're going to possibly?
Sure. One moment, let me just get back to that section. There are 646 parking stalls there currently on the site. We are proposing, after the completion of this project, 561. That is the total for the overall shopping center. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that's quite a reduction. And I can tell you, during the holidays, it's tough out there. Very, very tough.
Understood, and that is part of the reason why we are proposing. That is one of the reasons we are proposing the parking modifications that we're showing in front of the Stop and Shop Superstore to increase the amount of parking that's available for that use, which is where a majority of customers are looking to park.
But overall, there's gonna be a droppage.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lupo?
Yeah, to elaborate on the pedestrian traffic, mostly of them are gonna be kids. Seniors aren't gonna walk that distance, and kids don't pay attention. Did you ever entertain the idea of like a walkway bridge? You know, to get them safely over those highways, or the main thoroughfare.
I cannot say that we have considered that to this point. That would require
You considered it?
extensive coordination with the county. I would not commit to being able to provide that based on their jurisdiction over that intersection in the roadway.
There is a jurisdictional issue with the county. That
Get
just
closer
don't-
to the mic,
that's
please.
not our property.
Counsel?
County property.
Closer to the mic, please.
On
that-
both roads?
Yes, with the county jurisdiction, it would be almost I can't speak for the county, but with the county jurisdiction, it's very difficult to be able to construct a structure like that at this point.
But it's not ruled out, right?
Nothing is ever ruled out, but
Okay.
it would be very difficult to do, and I don't know if they would allow us to do it.
Any other questions, Mr. Lupo?
No, that's it.
Any other board members have questions? I think we're gonna flip over to Meeker for this. Just caught you off guard, huh?
No, I was just writing notes. So,
I'm only flipping to you because he said they would agree to everything in your letter, so
Yes.
now I'm gonna give you a chance to rebut.
thank you. I have a couple of just follow-up questions. Obviously, now that the testimony has been provided that the ATM is going to be removed, you're going to be providing revised plans of that. Would that landscape island over there be removed? And, could you just talk about how is the impervious coverage of what's existing today to what's being proposed? How is that changing?
Sure. We did look at that. So with the removal of that ATM, one of those two islands will be removed just to provide additional parking spaces. So the total impervious coverage, one moment. For the shopping center, inclusive of that change, also inclusive of the additional sidewalk that we'd be providing for the connectivity between the parcels, and also by eliminating the outdoor seating area. Those are the plan changes that we've agreed to make. The overall shopping center impervious coverage will be currently is 87.4%. And will remain at 87.4%. The total increase is approximately 500 square feet. So we will provide that information on the revised plans, but it does still comply as an overall shopping center. The individual lots, Lot A and Lot 27.01, will also remain at the percentage they currently are at. For Lot A would be 80.8%. That's about a 25 square foot net increase. And for Lot 27.01, would remain at 91.6, which is about a 500 square foot increase. But it does still match, I should say, the plans that we've submitted previously.
Okay, thank you. In terms of signage, I believe the testimony is that there are 5 signs being proposed. And, the overall area of one of those signs is 41.4 square feet. As you very
Yes.
well know, the permitted sign square footage is 40 square feet. Does the 1.4 square feet make that much of a visibility difference that it can't be complied with in terms of area?
Sorry, I can't see you eye to eye. Let me step back here, actually. The 41.4 square feet is the prototypical sign size for McDonald's. It's the one that they manufacture most frequently. So from a business and production standpoint, that's what they typically would start with, is the 41.4. Therefore, we are requesting the relief just for simplicity on the manufacturing side. However, if the one sign reduction by a slight margin to get that one sign into conformance is something we could certainly look at. However, the overall sign area for the facades where there's both signs would still exceed the 40 square feet total for that facade. So in that instance, we would request the relief for the total sign size rather than just for the one sign. I believe the one that you may be referring to is on the southern facade where it's just the 41.4 square feet. That is one we can look at, since that one facade is only one sign at 41.4 square feet.
Yeah, I would recommend looking at it because if the testimony is about site visibility, I mean, the square footage is not really pertinent to that. In terms of, again, the number of signs, I think you've seen my review. Has any dialogue been taken place about reducing the number of signs? I mean, a golden arch is quite global enough to know what it stands for. Does a McDonald's need to be spelled out? Has there been thought been given to reduce the number of signs?
We have discussed it, and I don't want to speak for the McDonald's team, but that is certainly something that we can discuss and get back to you and the board on a final decision as we proceed.
Thank you. In terms of parking, the next question, could you talk a little bit about, are there EV spaces being proposed and where would that be and how does that impact the site?
Yes. So as part of the New Jersey state law, there is a mandate for providing electric vehicle parking stations as part of new development. Therefore, as part of this proposed McDonald's, we are obligated to provide a minimum of 1 parking space dedicated for electric vehicles. And those are make-ready electrical vehicle stalls, meaning the infrastructure is in place to eventually construct one, but it will not be proposed on the day of the McDonald's opening if it were. For the remainder of the site, this is where the municipal land use and the state ordinance becomes a little bit gray in terms of redevelopment, where it's not explicitly required for a redevelopment site. It talks about new uses. So we are not currently proposing additional electric vehicle parking stalls that are make ready for future use for the remainder of the shopping center at this time. Mr. Glantz, our owner and operator of the site, may be able to find some more information about the individual users on the site providing electric vehicle stalls just for their own customers. But outside of that, in terms of the New Jersey state law, that is not something we're proposing at this time, unless the board attorney deems it otherwise required, in which case it's a state requirement that we must comply with. But our interpretation is that they would not be.
So for the 45 additional parking spaces that are being provided at the Stop and Shop, there's no EV space being proposed?
Not at this time.
Okay. Have you contacted the DCA to find out if that's how the ordinance is applied?
We have not talked to them specifically on this site. However, we have spoken with them on a number of occasions for many projects, and it tends to be a very site-specific basis, and ultimately up to the board and the local jurisdiction's interpretation. So, hence my my deferral to the chair's counsel on if the interpretation is to provide them. Of course, our interpretation again is that they should not be, because we are proposing a net reduction in parking stalls for the site, and we're providing the required number for the new use that is proposed. But the overall parking stall number on the site is being reduced. Therefore, no increase in parking, we believe, is triggering any EV stalls that would be needed elsewhere.
Mika, I have a question. Doing the subdivision, does that trigger the hookups for electric vehicles? It's not just putting a potential business there and altering parking spots, but they're subdividing the lots. So does that trigger the electrical requirements for moving forward?
So the way the EV state model ordinance is written, it does say only for preliminary site plan applications. It doesn't talk about subdivision. So that's a clarification that we will need to get from DCA or somebody in the state as to how to interpret that.
But if this application should move forward, that's something that we can request.
Yes.
Okay. Please continue.
And could you talk a little bit about the buffering on the site in terms of has the proposed site plan impacted the buffers on site? If so, how, or have they been reduced or increased?
Sure. So the existing separation from the parking areas and the circulation and drive-through areas for the banks to the street and to the surrounding neighborhood properties has not been changed as part of this proposed plan. We are proposing new curb lines and new parking stalls, but the distances are proposed to remain. However, based on the fact that we are creating new parcels with the subdivision, that triggers buffer requirements to side yards and rear yards that are internal to the site, which we are not complying with as a function of it being a shared parking and driveway area. And the rear and side yards of those individual new lots are directly abutting adjacent parking and adjacent buildings. So we do need the technical relief for buffering from those side yards since they are internal to the site. But in terms of the visual impact on the site in person, the existing distances and the existing landscaped areas between the parking and the right-of-way will remain.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let Mark, I want to get Mark. Mark, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll touch on a few of the items that the engineer has already spoke about and save the rest for later when our traffic engineer gets up and testifies. With regard to the outdoor seating area, what are you proposing in that area at this point, other than the concrete slab that's there?
So excuse me, the outdoor seating area that is shown on our submitted plans will be removed. There is no outdoor seating proposed any longer for this location. So instead of that concrete pad area where outdoor seating was previously contemplated, we will be providing additional landscape space, whether that's shrubbery or just an open grass lawn. It will no longer be an outdoor seating area.
When you started your testimony, you talked about the access drive, and you indicated that it was only for ingress, not egress. Are you talking about the main drive, or are you talking about the right turn into the McDonald's?
I was referring to the immediate right turn into the McDonald's, which would be the first turn you could make coming off of that northernmost access driveway closest to the intersection with Prospect Plains Road. So if you're driving southbound on Perrinville Road and you make the right into the site just past the intersection, you can make an immediate right into the fast food McDonald's area, or bear right to continue to the Wells Fargo Bank, but no traffic will be permitted to leave from that driveway.
Thanks for clarifying. So, main issue, walkability of the site. Talked about getting pedestrians from the traffic signal into the site. Have you considered going through the Wells Fargo lot to get a sidewalk of some sort from the traffic signal to the McDonald's? Because you're sending all the pedestrians to the southern end of the site, and you expect them to walk past McDonald's and then turn around and walk north to get to McDonald's. There has to be another way to get sidewalks directly to the McDonald's from the intersection.
We absolutely couldn't consider those items as part of our resubmitted plan. There likely is a way to make that happen. We would have to look at the grading and some of the other county restrictions for providing that access. And obviously there's other design elements with the Wells Fargo we would have to consider, but we certainly can look at it and would be an option.
Also, I had asked about walkability from the Stop and Shop and that group of stores to get to the McDonald's. I don't see how you're going to provide that. So do you have some plan of how you're going to get sidewalks from the storefronts to the McDonald's?
We will provide plans that shows that. I can explain it verbally now if you'd like.
Yes.
If you're standing in front of the Stop and Shop and walking north towards these parcels and the new fast food restaurant, at the new four-way stop controlled intersection that we're proposing, we would provide a crosswalk and then a series of sidewalks and additional crosswalks to cross over a handful of those drive aisles, and then provide another crosswalk across that drive aisle down to the McDonald's use. So that would be the method of getting the interconnectivity to the storefront, would be along those new islands that we're proposing just to the west of the McDonald's pad.
Okay, in addition, looking at the whole site, there's no sidewalk access from Prospect Plains Road. I would request that you provide a sidewalk coming in from Prospect Plains Road to connect with the sidewalks, I believe near the medical building and the storefronts.
Understood. We can look at that. Again, that would require some coordination with the county as it is their jurisdiction for access, but that's something we certainly can look into. There are currently no sidewalks there, and those immediate uses are not really the most pedestrian oriented in terms of the Liberty Bank and the medical office building. That's more of a vehicular destination, but we obviously could look at the addition of sidewalks for those areas should the board deem it necessary.
Well, that provides the connectivity to the storefronts, including Stop and Shop and the other stores that are there, pizzeria, Chinese, etc.
Yeah, understood.
The loading area, you're not providing a loading area for the McDonald's. You indicated you're going to have 2 or 3 truck deliveries per week. I believe you said they're coming when the store is closed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, and you're also going to have employees there to unload the truck?
I can't speak to the number of employees. Our operational.
So
We'll
I'll just cut
address
to the
that.
chase. Your hours are from 5:30 a.m. to midnight. That means you're going to be getting truck deliveries between midnight and 5:30 a.m. in the morning, based on your testimony.
The specific timing I couldn't speak to, but yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I think that's outside of the hours. And the other thing is now if you're closed and you're going to have employees coming in during the closed hours. So we need a lot more testimony on that and how you're going to control it. Because I've seen tractor trailers at McDonald's at all times of the day, and I don't know how you're going to control that here. So you have someone else that's going to testify on that?
We do, Mr.
Yes.
Thank you. You're setting up the subdivisions for, obviously, for financial reasons, separating the businesses. Cross-access easement, you're going to be providing them for all the lots and throughout the properties?
That's correct.
Yeah, I didn't see that noted on the mapping, so that'll have to be provided on there as well.
We have no issue with providing that. That's fine.
With regard to the Wells Fargo lot, you have a 2-way drive aisle that appears to be one of the main drive aisles to accommodate the McDonald's, but it's totally on the Wells Fargo property. Who's maintaining that? Is that now becomes Wells Fargo responsibility to maintain that main drive aisle, or will that subdivision line be relocated?
If I could clarify, are you speaking of the immediate 2-way drive aisle just to the south of the row of parking in front of the Wells Fargo?
That's correct.
That drive aisle will be located on Wells Fargo's property, as it is a means of their customers circulating in and out of their site. So our owner and operator can provide the specifics of what that maintenance agreement would look like and what will be in the reciprocal easement agreement, but it will remain on Wells Fargo's parcel.
Okay, and that provides the exit for McDonald's as well.
That's correct.
Okay, I'll wait for clarification, and I guess I'll hold any other comments to the other professionals and reserve the right to, speak with the engineer again.
Thank you, Mark. Counsel will continue with your testimony with your next witness if this witness is now done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a quick recess, give the stenographer a break. You guys can regroup, give the public a chance to view this, to get some questions down before we bring the next witness.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, so we're gonna take 10 minutes. 8 o'clock, we're gonna resume. Can I have your attention, please? Thank you. Counsel?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just earlier this evening, application BA 5218-22-283 Applegarth Road LLC was carried at the applicant's request to the November 29th, 2022 meeting of the board without further notice. Just anyone who might have come in after that occurred on the agenda, just wanted to make that announcement. That application will not be heard this evening.
Thank you, counsel. Opposite counsel, please continue with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we were on our engineering testimony. Mr. Linder, you wanted to go through the list of the various bulk variances out there real quick, just so we understand what is before us on the record. Is that correct?
That's right. So I covered many of the relief items that we're looking for tonight. I do have this list, and we can hand them out to you just to summarize in one concise format everything that we are requesting, because there are a handful. At this point, I'd like to just go through them line by line for the record, so you have everything outlined succinctly, and bear with me as I go through it. There's a handful I have to hit here, so I'll do it by lot that we are proposing as part of the subdivision, and that will hopefully keep things organized. I'll start with Lot A, which is the proposed McDonald's lot. We do have a number of bulk variances based on the PRC and NC zoning criteria. And actually, I'd like to mention, before going much further, the site is located in the PRC zone, but based on the prior approval for the shopping center, we utilize the NC neighborhood commercial zoning district requirements. That was what was utilized under the originally approved application for the shopping center. We coordinated with Ms. Apke and the entire township and the board's professionals to confirm that those requirements are still appropriate for the shopping center. So the actual PRC zoning requirements are not applicable for this particular project based on the project history and how it was originally approved. So with that, I'll go into the Lot A bulk variances that we are looking for this evening. The first handful are straight from 108 Attachment 2, which is the bulk requirements for the NC zone. Minimum lot area of 40,000 square feet is required. A little feedback. 40,000 square feet is required, and for Lot A, 34,250 square feet is proposed, which is slightly less than 40,000. The minimum lot width and lot frontage for Lot A is required to be 200 feet. We are proposing 154 feet for the lot frontage and 133.6 feet for the lot width, which is less than the required 200. For
Matt, sorry.
yes,
May I just clarify, just making sure it's 34,520 square feet is the lot area, or it's 250?
for Lot A.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, 34,520. Sorry, I
That's
reversed the numbers.
just making sure. the
Yes,
record-
520.
And the second thing, the lot width is 154.8.
0.8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
The maximum impervious coverage allowable for Lot A is 60%. We are proposing 80.8%. The minimum buffer for right-of-way for Lot A of 60 feet is required, and we are proposing 6.1 feet. Again, that maintains the existing separation, but it is a new lot, so we are requesting the relief. Similarly, there is a buffer from property line for Lot A of 60 feet required, and we are again proposing 6.1 feet. Additionally, any buffer that is proposed is supposed to have berming, which we are not providing given that the width is reduced. Therefore, we are requesting relief from the berming requirement as well. For the number of wall signs we did cover, but I'll reiterate, one is permitted based on section 108, 10.1.k. One is permitted and 5 are proposed. Maximum sign area for wall signs of 40 square feet is permitted, where 55.4 square feet is proposed for the northeast and eastern facades, while the southern facade we are proposing 41.4 square feet. Again, as we proceed this evening, we can discuss the the potential of reducing those based on the board's feedback. For directional signage, we didn't cover this for the McDonald's standard directional signs for drive-through right or straight ahead. We are proposing 6.25 square foot directional signs where 3 square foot maximum is required. For sign illumination on the building mounted signs, the internal illumination, I believe, is not permitted, so we are requesting for those to be internally illuminated in design. For fencing, no fences above 3 feet tall shall be permitted in the front yard. We are not proposing any new fences, but there are existing fences that exist on the site today within the front yard, which we will be maintaining. So we are requesting relief since this is a redevelopment and new parcels being created. For parking, there is a requirement of 1 space per every 2 employees plus 1 space per every 2 customer seats. Therefore, that requirement ends up totaling 39 spaces that are required, and we are proposing 28 for Lot A. As with all the other parking spaces on the site, they are shared, and there's a reciprocal easement that will be put into place allowing for shared parking. So while there are deficiencies on certain lots, there will be a community aspect of the parking. And as our traffic engineer will speak to in a little bit, the typical McDonald's use does not need a full 39 parking spaces. The number that we're providing is sufficient for a typical McDonald's. For parking space size, I covered this earlier, 10 foot by 20 feet is required and 9 foot by 18 feet is proposed. Again, fairly typical parking stall dimension and helps with some of the other drive aisle widths that we're proposing for circulation on the site. Parking areas are also not permitted in front yards, which we are proposing. Again, maintaining the existing condition and the existing curb line that is on the site. We are requesting the relief since they are new parking stalls. Parking is also not permitted within 30 feet of the outer structure of a building or the outer wall of any structure. We are proposing parking spaces approximately 8.3 feet from the proposed McDonald's, and that would be to the 4 parking spaces to the east of the McDonald's. There are 2 ADA parking spaces, which we would typically like to put as close to the building as possible. That is a federal requirement, as well as the mobile order pickup stalls that you would typically see for a McDonald's and most drive-through restaurant uses. And then lastly, for Lot A, I also mentioned this before, but for parking lots that have 20 or more parking spaces, you are required to provide 6-foot minimum width landscape islands. We are providing substantial landscaping, but not to break up the internal parking field, just to maximize the number of stalls on the site, since we are asking for relief on the number of parking stalls for the entire shopping center. So that covers Lot A, and I'll move on to Lot 27.01, which is the remaining shopping center area. Again, number of parking stalls that are required is 471, and 432 are proposed for that parcel. For bulk requirements, a minimum side yard setback of 25 feet is required, whereas 17.6 feet is proposed. That is located at the northwest corner, adjacent to the 2-story medical office building. That separation is to the new property line that is proposed. So we're not proposing any new structures or distances to the exterior property line. But since there's an internal property line we are proposing, that setback is reduced to 17.6 feet. Maximum building height of 35 feet is required. And within this parcel, lot 27.01, we are not proposing any changes to any of the existing structures. I believe one of the dimensions for the Stop and Shop grocery store is measured at 36.7 feet, which is what we have noted on the plans. That we can review and confirm if that really is the exact dimension at its highest point. But again, we are not changing the existing condition on that lot, so no changes are proposed, and therefore we're requesting the relief as an existing nonconformity. For parking lots of 20 more spaces, landscape islands being provided. Covered this a couple of times, but again, we want to provide as many parking spaces as we can while still providing some landscaping. So instead of losing approximately 20 or 25 additional parking stalls to provide that landscaping, we're requesting that relief to maximize the number of stalls. Maximum impervious coverage of 60% again is required, and for this lot we are proposing 91.6%. As an overall lot, I mentioned before, we are reducing impervious coverage compared to the existing condition as an overall shopping center, but this lot configuration and the improvements within it result in 91.6%. Therefore, we are asking for that relief. And then again, parking located in the front yard, which we are providing while maintaining the existing curb line. Lot B, which is the existing Wells Fargo Bank, to remain. The minimum lot area of 40,000 square feet is required, where 36,536 is proposed. Minimum lot width and lot frontage, 200 is required for both of those. The lot frontage proposed is 141.1 feet, and the lot width is 175.4 feet, which is less than 200. One of the items we noted on the plans, but has since been clarified, is a rear yard setback being required for this lot, which is not required, as it turns out, given the fact that it's a corner lot and there are 2 side yards and no rear yard. So no rear yard setback is required for that parcel. Lot depth of 200 feet is required, and we are proposing 178.8 feet. Impervious coverage of 60% is required, and we are proposing 71.5%. Again, for the same reasons, as we have an overall reduction in the overall shopping center compared to the existing condition. Buffer requirements I mentioned before, but again, we are maintaining the 6.1 feet buffer along the frontage of Perrinville Road, which is less than the 60 feet required, and the minimum buffer requirement from a property line of 60 feet is required, and we are proposing 0 based on the internal side lot lines where parking is immediately adjacent to that lot line.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I can jump in here, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Have all these been provided on the plan, a list of all these waivers and variances that you're asking for?
We do have on this plan that you see here as part of the submitted site plan, which does match. There are requested design exceptions, requested waivers, and then the additional shading and notes as part of our charts. So I'm reading off what is listed in those cells.
Because I'm trying to follow along, and the page that I'm looking at doesn't have that.
C-301, the overall site layout plan.
That's the page I'm following. So there is some you're adding things in that are not shown on at least the page that I've been provided.
So this is also a summary of Miss Apte's review and any additional variances that she may have noted as that could be necessary, which we will add, of course, as part of any variances on the plan that are determined to be needed. So I have included those as part of this list as
And are
well.
you providing the planning testimony for that, or will that be another?
I am not.
That'll be Mr.
Okay,
Costello.
so I guess what I'm getting to is we're sort of being redundant. I don't want to, cut off your testimony, and certainly leave it up to your attorney if he wants to continue. But you're providing this list, and then we're going to go through this list again with your planner. Is that
Right, and we are just providing the total list, and the planner is going to go through. It comes to various groupings of the waivers and variances, and the planner is going to go through those groupings and the standards for each of those.
Thank you. But for the record, what you're reading off is not provided on my 301. There's
Right.
been additional variances requested. Some you've changed. You just indicated it's a corner lot, so you're not required, but maybe you show that as required. So, certainly the plans have to get cleaned up.
Yeah, and we
reflect
will
all
be
the
doing
guidance.
that. And again, we pulled some of these from Ms. Apte's memo as well.
Thank you. You
We were trying to
continue.
just make it easier for everyone to review with all of them grouped together.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rasmuch, and part of the reason I'm doing this now is also provides a little bit of the engineering background and justification for some of these. Certainly not all of them. Mr. Osceola will handle that, but there are a couple of things related to the site layout that I do want to point out for the record. So I appreciate you saying that. I am almost done, so we'll finish up here shortly. For Lot C, which is just to the west of the Wells Fargo. Lot area of 40,000 square feet is required and proposed is 27,131. Minimum lot width and frontage of 200 feet is required, and we are proposing 117.5 feet of frontage and 124.7 feet of lot width. Lot depth of 200 feet is required, and we are proposing 150.2 feet. Side yard setback of 25 feet is required, and 19.3 feet is proposed, which is located on the northwestern corner of the building. That is to where the new property line will be located. However, again, no new structures are located within the setbacks of the overall shopping center boundary. And then the same buffer requirements of 60 feet. We are providing 40.1 feet to the right-of-way and 19.3 feet to the side lot line, which is less than 60 feet that is required. And then lastly, Lot D, we have the minimum lot width and lot frontage, which is 200 feet. We are providing 189.5 feet of frontage and 186.2 feet of lot width. Rear yard setback of 40 feet is required, and we are proposing 12.7 feet to the existing canopy of that medical office building. That would be on the back side of it, between that building and the adjacent retail. Minimum side yard setback of 25 feet is required, and 6.4 feet is proposed, again, to that rear corner of the canopy for that building. Maximum impervious coverage of 60% is required, whereas 76.2% is proposed for this parcel. Minimum buffer requirements, same requirement of 60 feet to the right of way and to adjacent property lines. We are proposing 7.2 feet to the access drive aisle just adjacent to it, and then 0 feet to the internal property line where the existing access driveway intersects with that side property line. I believe that covers all of the variances. There are a handful of design exceptions, but I think we've covered a majority of those already. I'll defer to our counsel whether we should cover those or move forward with the next witness.
Mr. Chairman, any further questions of the witness?
None at this time.
Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
whoa. Time out. Mr. Lupo? Nope.
Just, can we get a list? Because I gotta admit, I'm really confused now.
Use the mic, please.
I got about 15 in and I gave up writing them down to try to keep track. I need the list.
We have the list. We can distribute. If I can,
Okay.
we can do that.
And then the other question I have for our counselor. So I know we discussed about how we're not going to use PRC. Somebody agreed to use the NC. Is that true?
I think at some point in the past, the NC was deemed to be the applicable standard because the PRC is more of a global development standard for a larger area than this. So while it may not be necessarily the applicable standard, I think it was something that was deemed to be appropriate for trying to figure out what appropriate standards would be for something of this type.
PRC is the planned residential commercial district, and NC is the neighborhood commercial district. I don't know if I was supposed to answer.
That's yeah. We will mark this as exhibit A3.
Actually,
We never got to A3. Well, I don't think they ever,
Me too.
they gave it to us, but I don't think they ever marked it.
Got a question?
okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
1 second. Counsel, are we marking in the packet you handed out, the last exhibit is A4? Because it wasn't spoken about and it is included in the packet. So that's
A4,
A4. So
which
this-
one's A4? A3?
A3.
So sheet C303 would be exhibit A3. Okay. And then if we'll make the list of variances that was just handed out Exhibit A4.
Mr. Lupo, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. I'm not gonna ask you about the variances that you just went over, but I just had a thought that popped in my mind, and I thought it'd be best posed to you as an engineer. And I know a lot of you individuals don't live around here, so you never witnessed the site in the wintertime. But where you are proposing that building, your McDonald's, that's where they put the excess snow. And out here in the wintertime, when it snows, they push that snow up to those light posts. It looks like icebergs out there. I can't imagine how many parking spaces they lose. And now where are they gonna put the rest of this excess snow? Where they would put it right there in your building. So it puts an undue hardship on this overall property. As an engineer, tell me where they're gonna
Yeah.
put this snow.
So I wish I could answer that question definitively because I am not the owner operator of the site. So I would defer to the maintenance team as to how that would be managed. What I can say is that there are provisions with the surrounding landscape area and some of the landscape islands that we're providing to allow for that. Of course, it's not as much just open space, but at the same time, we are looking at a parking variance, and if those spaces aren't really usable in the winter time for snow storage, the number of parking spaces that we're proposing is similar to that. So from an operations and a site operation standpoint, it kind of will function the same. But I understand the question about the snow maintenance. I would have to defer that to the maintenance team.
Thank you. Counsel, please continue.
If there are no other questions of the witness, he can remain available, but I could proceed with my next witness if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Please do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Landro.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'd like to call Bill Degman. He's he is one of the good witness. Mr. Degman, if you could come up to the chair. He is he's employed by, well, I'll put him on record, and then
Slide him over.
You want to swear Mr. Degman in?
Sir, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
All right. Bill Dykman, Dikmann, and I live at 64 Mandrake Road in Monroe Township.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Dykman, good evening. If you could identify yourself as to whom you're employed.
Sure. So I'm employed by the owner-operator family that is looking at opening this restaurant, and that is the Chapman Family Restaurants.
And they operate other restaurants as well?
Right now we have 18 restaurants here in New Jersey.
And do you have any here in the township?
We have one on right off of 33 and Applegarth Road.
And that restaurant would be a McDonald's similar to this one, is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Dykman, you've heard some of the questions from the board members as to operations. First off, I think we identified operation hours are 5:30 till 12 at night, is that correct?
That is correct.
And how many employees?
So
Per shift.
we're looking at a maximum peak time of 11 folks, and then off-peak times, it could be as many as 5 or 6 people. We run 3 shifts. On the restaurant, we have our morning through afternoon, and then our mid-shift, and then our evening shift.
And given your experience with the other restaurants, how do most of the employees get to the restaurant?
We typically, and I'll use this Monroe restaurant, but it's very similar to most. Usually in the morning, there's usually 6, 7 employees, and there's usually 1 or 2 cars. Most of them either walk from the neighborhood or they are being dropped off by Uber. A lot of them don't have any vehicles, so they're doing Uber to the restaurant.
And there were questions with regard to the deliveries. How do deliveries occur at this site, at the similar sites?
So similar sites in this one.
Why don't we switch? Yeah, hold it right up to your mouth. So, go ahead.
So our delivery system, usually it's all unassisted delivery. Usually they run between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Our truck delivery is from Martin Brower, our food distributor. They normally have 3 to 4 stops per evening, and there are no employees in the store at that particular time. We found at a lot of our sites it's so much easier for them to come in. There's no traffic, there's no cars, there's no pedestrians. It's a one-man operation. All the product, which is refrigerated, frozen, and dry goods, is palletized and shrink wrapped. So they're on rollers. So he pulls into the parking lot. He has a code to get in the restaurant. Then he will drop down his lift gate, and then he just pulls off the pallets and wheels them into the building. The ones for the refrigerator go in the refrigerator. The ones for the freezer go in the freezer. And the dry goods go in the stock area. And then he leaves. And it's usually about a 15 or 20 minute time frame that he's on the lot. And then he leaves and goes to the next stop.
And when we talk about the efficiency of the drive-through, how is this drive-through one of your more efficient drive-throughs?
So being side by side, it gives the opportunity to have more throughput. So, and it gets customers in and out of the restaurant a lot quicker.
And you've already had experience with the other Monroe restaurant out on Route 33. Can you tell us what your experience has been out there with regard to queuing for the drive-through?
Yeah, so during the peak time, you're looking at 12 to maybe 15 cars in a queue from the time they order to get to leaving. That's usually during the high peak time, but typically there's 4 to 8 vehicles in the queue throughout the day.
And how long typically do those cars remain in the queue before they're serviced?
Usually it's between 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes for each car. That's the goal.
Okay. And what do you find as far as people using the store itself, the restaurant itself, walking inside? How many customers do you normally have there?
So typically the stores right now have been running about 70 to 75% drive-through business and 25 to 30% in-store business. So it's obviously a lot more people driving in and driving off. We do see a lot of the customers will drive in and they drive off, and then some customers will drive in and park.
And do you also go ahead? And do you also find that these restaurants become sort of a community hub sometimes for people meeting and things like that?
So typically, at least in most of our restaurants, we have we call them the coffee group. So we get a lot of morning people in the morning having an Egg McMuffin or a cup of coffee. They might be 4 or 5 in a group, different groups in the morning, and they enjoy their time sitting, talking, conversating, and then they also know a lot of our employees, and a lot of our employees are great because they know you want an Egg McMuffin and coffee, and they have it ready for them when they come in. But,
and you provide Wi-Fi as well?
That is correct.
Anything else you can tell us about the operations that may help the board tonight?
Operation-wise, we try to be very efficient, obviously. That's our goal, to get customers in and out. Other things that we have done in different communities, we do community involvement. A lot of times we're doing teacher nights, which we donate the profits of that shift back to the school and helps the school. We also do tour groups that come in, and we give them tours of the restaurant, talk about our community and what we do in the community. Operational wise, we just try to be very efficient. We're very clean. We stay on top of all that stuff, and that's very important.
And for those that are worried about garbage on the outside of this restaurant, right, how is that handled by your restaurant?
So we have typically it's set up to every 30 minutes. We call it a travel path, where a management person will walk out or a crew trainer will walk around the site and just see what needs to be taken care of, and then they'll bring somebody else out and they'll attend to anything that needs to be done.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the witness has presented testimony with regard to operations. If you have any further questions, or your professionals have any further questions, he is available.
No, I just need to know, what do you consider peak hours?
So our peak hours normally are 11:30 to 2:30. and then at dinner time, usually from 5 to 8. Those are the peak times.
And considering, based what you just said, that your drive-through business is 75%?
Yeah, it ranges between 70 and 75. That's an average.
So why would you need such a big building if you're doing mostly drive-in? So you could accommodate maybe more space or something of that nature?
Typically, during the peak time is usually when the dining room fills. So I think that's one of the main reasons, because it gets to capacity or close to capacity during the peak time.
And how long you been with this company?
This one since 2018, but I've been with McDonald's since 1970.
The same family in different locations?
No, I was actually an owner-operator myself in Manhattan for 22 years, and then we moved out here to Monroe, and I've been working with the Chapman family since then.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With regard to the loading, said the truck's going to come, in the middle of the night, and it's a one-man operation, so there's no employees in the building at the time.
That's correct.
Where on the site does he load or unload the truck, rather? Where do
On
you
the site,
the
it
truck
would be
get
on
into
the
building?
south side of the building where the drive-through is.
Okay, so south side right here.
So right here where the drive-through,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so where these two lanes are here for the drive-through, that's the delivery. If you see the walkways that are here, those are ramps, and that he wheels them right into the storage area or to the freezer. So it's right in the drive.
Maybe you could also. Right here. Look up right there.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
So you're saying that the tractor trailer, sorry, you're saying the tractor trailer is now going to access around the drive-through? It's going to drive through the drive-through to unload and then proceed through the drive-through to get out of the site?
Yes, because he'll be pulling in right here. If you can see here, here's the walkways and the ramps. And then he'll drive in here, offload, and then drive out.
So to the attorney, I'd like to hear from your engineer later. Maybe you can comment about that.
Sure.
Because I thought there was some clearance issues and other obstacles that a tractor trailer may not be able to get through.
Sure. We have our traffic engineer to testify to that too, but Mr. Landreau is available. Go ahead.
So I do have a truck circulation exhibit, which is appropriate at this time.
Was that provided to the board as part of the application?
I do not believe it was a submitted plan, so we'll mark this, and we absolutely can submit it going forward.
Counsel, while he's setting that up, how many other things haven't been submitted to this board to review before coming before the public?
Wow.
Promotion.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I was in front of a judge today, so I apologize.
Microphone, wait a minute.
Mr. Chairman, we have submitted everything that's been requested. The document that you see now is just to further illustrate, to illustrate the what we're trying to explain to the board. These are supplemental documents. We're not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes or be non-transparent. We're just trying to show how things work. And this is essentially just a close-up showing where the trucks are. And we will submit that. We will be glad to submit that as part of this project as well.
Continue.
So I'll mark this A5.
Yep.
This plan is entitled WB-50 Truck Turning Exhibit, dated October 25th, 2022, and prepared by Bowler Engineering. This shows the anticipated circulation pattern for the delivery vehicle coming off of Prospect Plains access driveway. The county route on the north side of the site will maneuver into the site, make a left internal to the site as it approaches the main storefront. And you can see as it starts to travel eastbound, it can come down through and into the drive-through receiving lane where people would be receiving their orders. And there's a number of ways that it could happen, as Bill explained, but the primary mode of delivery would be for the truck to sit in that straight and narrow path on the south side of the building, where there is a receiving door just adjacent to the drive-through lane. And that drive-through lane, of course, would not be in operation during that time, as it's a off-hours operation.
So Mr. Landro, if you could just again point to where the truck would sit for the delivery.
Yeah, the truck, in my understanding, would be just to the south of the proposed building, adjacent to the row of angled parking spaces, also adjacent to where the receiving pickup, I guess, from your drive-through order would occur at the pickup window.
Is that not a direct conflict of the operations manager? He said it's totally on the opposite side of the building where the sidewalk is. Now we're on the drive-through.
It's not, and you're just, I think that we're just a little turned around with regard to the other exhibit. So, Mr. Landro, again, if you could just explain how the truck would come in.
Yeah.
What Mr. Landro is testifying to is how it will occur, and I'll get concurrence from our other witness.
So again, the truck would enter the site from Prospect Plains Road, use the existing drive aisle along the front of those retail buildings, make a left going eastbound towards Perrinville Road, which would directly line up with the pickup lane of the drive-through just to the south of the building. That is where the truck can most easily fit and where the loading and unloading operation can occur. However, to exit the site, the truck will then have to loop around the front of the store along Perrinville Road and then back to the west, where the truck could also load and unload if that was the operator's preference. There is interconnectivity for sidewalks and pedestrian and loading on either side. So they can fit in both locations. However, I will say that the drive-through lanes themselves are not designed to accommodate a WB50 vehicle due to the clearance bars and the menu boards and other infrastructure.
That is correct.
So basically, Mr. Dykeman, what you said before is inaccurate?
No, it's not inaccurate. There's two ways we can do this. So it works either way. It depends on site size and width. A lot of our stores do everything off on the drive-through side, but we have obviously we have more space than we're going to get here. So we also have stores that do this also off of that ramp there. In that door, we can bring inside and go in. Also can walk around, and that's happened with the walkway, to go into the freezer, into the stock area. So there's two ways to do it. It can go either way.
Vinny, hold on. So you just said there's two ways to do it. He just said there's not two ways to do it, right?
He did say that.
Well, all right, so what if we say
Here's
you
the
have
mic,
to do
here's
it
the mic.
on the,
Mr. Mick?
if you have to do it on the other side, the north side, and he has to drive through the lanes, what'll happen to the signage? Because you just said you can't do that. He's saying you can do it.
I believe Mr. Dykeman is saying the adjacent drive-through lane just to the north of where the actual entrance points into the drive-through queue would occur would be where the truck would then do the loading maneuver, not within the drive-through lanes themselves.
Correct.
But then he'd have to drive forward, right? Or would he back up? Are you saying he's going to back out of there?
No. As shown, I mean, it might be difficult to see, but
There's no way to, once you're in those lanes, you can't go right. I'm looking at your map.
the truck would not be entering the
So-
drive-through lane.
Oh, so it would be on the Wells Fargo property,
That's correct.
not on McDonald's property.
If they chose to do that,
So they would unload on the adjacent lot, not McDonald's lot. That's what you're telling me right now.
I think his testimony was you could do both. You could do either. It's up to them. Is that correct, Mr. Landro?
that is correct, and also the truck is designed to work in that location. Not that
Great.
the loading would occur on that location, but that is the access
Don't tell me
path
what
for
a
the
truck
truck.
is designed to do. So what you're proposing is either the south side or the Wells Fargo's property, right?
I'm proposing that the truck operation occur on the McDonald's property to the south of the
Okay,
building.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
another
hold-
question?
yeah, sure, Mark, go
Different
ahead.
subject. Mr. Deckman, you indicated that you have people that are going to walk around your site and pick up garbage. Is that correct?
Yeah, they go out with a cart and a dustpan broom, and they travel, it's called a travel path, and they go around our area of property.
Will they be walking the entire property,
Well, our
including,
entire,
including the shopping center?
no, it's just the McDonald's.
How are you going to confine the garbage blowing from McDonald's into the other part of the properties?
I guess we'll have to make arrangements. I don't know.
'Cause right now, we have a problem with garbage
do?
from some of the properties
Oh,
already
Okay.
blowing across onto Prineville Road and across the street into the farmland, the preserved open space land. So that's a big issue.
Typically, what we've done in the past when we're in shopping, we have restaurants in a number of shopping centers, that we talk with the different vendors, and we all kind of share in that. We can do that. That's not a problem.
Well,
We don't mind picking up trash. I mean, it's fine.
That's something we're going to want to see.
Okay.
What kind of arrangement you have for cleaning up the garbage that's blowing all over the entire property.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll be presenting you with we already presented the McDonald's plan, but we have an overall plan as well.
Thanks. And on another note, not to go back to the loading, unloading, is there an architectural plan or a floor
Yes.
plan provided?
We have an architect here, and he will be going through all those.
Okay, because I would think unloading would be based on where the access doors are for in the floor plan. So whether it's the south side or the north side, that would depend on the layout inside your building.
Yeah, but we have walkways to go around the restaurant. So that's what has happened in some of our stores. They'll offload there and wheel it around corner.
I have not seen a floor plan, so I'll wait and see the testimony.
Mr.
Now-
Herbert, was floor plan submitted? Because I have also never seen a floor plan for the McDonald's or elevations.
We have elevations here tonight. I believe, Mr. Lander, we have a floor plan as well?
We do have a floor plan. I believe it's a prototypical floor plan, which is what this building is, yes.
But, I would say, Mr. Herbert, I think the question was whether the floor plan was submitted, not
It
whether.
has not been submitted as of yet, no.
Okay, at this point, council, I'm gonna recommend this meetings be deferred till you do some housekeeping. There's too many open questions here that need to be answered. Hold on. We cannot digest and come up with a proper solution when we don't have 50% of what's supposed to be here. So I am making a motion to adjourn this meeting to be carried to next month. And in that interim, you need to have another TRC and get everything in order, because there's a lot of open issues here. And we're wasting our time listening because we can't make any decisions because you have this there, that there, and we need it here in front of us. The board needs to digest and evaluate what's being set forth. The engineer and the planner, everyone needs to have stuff before you walk in trying to obtain, whether it's a variance, a use variance, a bulk variance, waivers. We can't work like this. So this meeting, I am making now an official motion to adjourn this meeting till next month. And in that interim, you have this time span to set up a TRC to get everything in order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My motion's on the table. Do I have a second? All, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Ms. Damiani?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
No further notice, right?
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Kenzie? Chairman LaFada?
Yes. I want the public to know we're not going to require them to renotice. Okay, so everyone is aware next month's meeting is November 29th at 6:30 in the same place. We will continue, hold on a second, we will continue then. There will be no re-notification.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will listen to the public in a second. As soon as we wrap them up, there's not much we're going to be able to answer or help you with because we're stopping them now. So you may want to reserve your questions to next time. If it's something pertinent with respect to tonight, we will be more than happy to open the public portion when we get there.
Well, just for the record, when the public portion of this meeting happens, it's public comment on anything other than this application. So the board cannot receive comments from the public on this application. They've stopped the hearing on the application. So the public portion for this application will occur at the next meeting. Okay? Yeah. We're still in the middle of a meeting. We're still in the middle of a meeting, sir.
Everyone, we're going to take 5 minutes for everyone to clear out.
Not done.
This board still has business to conduct.
We're not done yet. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, board members, we have a memorialization of application BA-5219-22, Alicia M. DeAlisi. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
roll call, please.
Ms. Damiani?
yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
LaFada?
Yes. Okay, board members, we have another memorialization, application BA-5217-22, BSREP3 Monroe LLC. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Who's second?
I did.
Was there a second?
It threw you off.
I'll make it.
Instead of asking for a second.
I
you
was
said
a
he did.
ventriloquist. I threw it out there.
Ms. Damiani?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Chairman LaFada?
Yes. With respect to that resolution, I do have a question, if someone can answer it from the professionals. Have they ceased and desisted on the fence, and are they making the corrections with the proper berm that was approved in the original resolution? I don't know who the
Yes.
director's to.
Mr. Chair,
Not me.
this is on BSREP?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, they have been removing portions of the fence, and they're proceeding with installing berms and the fencing per the original approval.
Thank you very much. Do we have any discussion items? Yes, Mr. Master.
Something very quick, 'cause down near the other McDonald's, I forget the name of that development. The parking, is that what it is? The one closest to, no, the one that's closest to Appleworth. Is it Enclave? The one that's attached to the McDonald's. The parking is atrocious. Could we get either zoning out there or somebody to take a look? Because it's dangerous. There's people walking everywhere. Now people are parking in the bike lanes, or just parking on the main roads. It's dangerous, and I think we got to do something about it.
Well, I don't know if that would be zoning, because everything there is approved. Would that not be more the police
Enforcement,
department?
police.
I think we need to get the traffic division from the police department involved to observe it and come up with a fix.
It's bad. That's the best way to say it. All right, I just want to suggest it.
Any other discussion items? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the meeting to our lone standalone survivor. Ms. Arminio, please come forward.
Doesn't appear to be.
No.
No.
I'm not sure it's on.
Hold the button until the light's green.
The button on top, hold it till it turns green.
Oh, for goodness
There you
sake.
go. There
There we go. Okay, just in general, I
If you
do,
could, I know.
Michelle Arminio.
Thank you.
9 Nathaniel Street.
Best.
Okay. Just in general, I try to look at the any applications that are on the website, on the Monroe Township website, and very often they are illegible. Even if you try to expand them and zoom out, it's hard to read the wording. It's hard to look at the maps. So if we put these on, I mean, and they should be available as legible to the public. First of all, I also ask in general that they are available 10 days before. If not, an application really shouldn't be heard. So I commend the results tonight. But it is very important for some of us, whether I'm the lone one or not, to be able to read these documents and understand them before the meeting. So I would ask that zoning board make it very clear to these applicants that even if one person in the community is interested in looking at these, they should be able to understand them and be able to read them as submitted. That's really my comment for the night. And so when's the next meeting after Thanksgiving?
November 20,
So I would like to thank you all for your service to this community. Please remember, it is the community we are servicing, we are in service of, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and a healthy one. Thank you.
Thanksgiving. Is there anyone else in the public wishing to be heard? Please come forward. Seeing there's none, I make a motion to close the public portion. All in favor of closing the public portion?
Aye.
Any correspondences? Make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion. Sure.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
See you next month. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everybody.